On this Wednesday night, new details about how two accused hitmen entered Canada. How they got student visas is under scrutiny.
If you want a visa to come to Canada, it's one of the easiest.
The U.S. suspends bomb shipments to Israel as Palestinians scramble to escape Rafah while they can.
We don't know where we will go.
Another rough ride, the latest mishap involving a Boeing plane. And a battle of the Wild Wild West.
We're all just so excited for the Stanley Cup, especially two Canadian teams.
Gearing up for Game 1 between the Oilers and the Canucks.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Global News has confirmed two of the Indian men accused of killing a BC Sikh leader came to Canada on student visas and that one took just days to obtain. They're charged with first-degree murder in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was shot outside a Gurdwara in Surrey, BC last year. Canada's Prime Minister has said there is credible evidence linking the Indian government to the murder. How the men got into Canada is also under scrutiny. Jeff Semple has new details in tonight's top story.
That's Indian national Karan Brar announcing he'd received his student visa from Canada and thanking an immigration company for their help. That company posted the video on its Facebook page in 2019. 3 years later, Brar allegedly murdered BC Sikh leader Hardeep Nijjar.
This is a screaming wake-up call to Ottawa.
Sources close to the investigation say police believe India's Foreign Intelligence Agency was responsible for Nijjar's murder. Officers arrested 3 alleged hitmen, including Brar, in Edmonton Friday. Sources say at least 2 of the accused came to Canada on student visas. But instead of studying, sources say they were involved in drug trafficking and organized crime, with links to India's notorious Bishnoi gang.
It's the easiest country, safest country.
This organized crime expert says Canada's international student visa program is well known to Indian gangs.
So you do anything from here, it's much safer.
Sources believe the suspects were involved in organized crime before coming to Canada, but it's unclear if Brar had a criminal record.
If someone were on a student visa, would there be criminal record checks?
Yes.
There would be?
Yeah.
Despite that claim from Canada's immigration minister, immigration lawyers and the government's own website say Canada does not require a criminal record check from student visa applicants from India.
Canadian government, Canadian immigration expects you to be truthful about your background and your criminal history. But as we all know, not everyone tells the truth.
In the video, Brar says he received his student visa within days. The company that assisted his application, EthicWorks Immigration Services, is headquartered in India's Punjab state. It lists 2 Canadian addresses in Saskatchewan and this home in Ontario. No one would answer the door.
Which one?
Mr. Singh, from EthicWorks? But through the doorbell camera, they said they know nothing about the case. There's no suggestion the company did anything wrong. Brar had been accepted into this Calgary college in its hospital unit clerk program in 2020. The program lasts 8 months, which means his student visa should have expired 3 years ago. It's unclear whether he completed his studies or even attended class.
Right now, there's a lack of uniform and consistent collection of who's showing up to school.
This immigration lawyer says communication between schools and immigration officials is lacking.
We have a screen door on the submarine. By the time we find out something's amiss, it's too late.
Facing criticism about the surging number of international students, the federal government announced changes to the program in January, including a cap for the next 2 years. Meanwhile, Brar and his 2 co-accused will be back in court on May 21st. The charges against them have not been proven. Donna?
All right, Jeff Semple, thanks. U.S. President Joe Biden has taken his strongest action yet to try to deter Israel from launching a full-scale assault on Rafah. In an interview with CNN, Biden acknowledged American bombs have been used to kill civilians in Gaza and that he will not continue to supply Israel with offensive weapons if the Israeli army goes into Rafah. That's Gaza's southernmost city where more than 1 million Palestinian civilians are sheltering.
It's just wrong. We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells used that have been used.
Artillery shells as well.
Yeah, artillery shells.
Jackson Proskow reports on what is a major shift in U.S. policy.
The rush is on to flee Rafah. As civilians prepare for Israel's ground offensive, there are few places to run. This is the third time we are displaced, says this man. We don't know where we will go. Airstrikes are already raining down on southern Gaza. Aid organizations warn a full invasion will lead to an even deeper humanitarian catastrophe.
So the impact is not just on the people in Rafah, the impact is throughout Gaza because it collapses what remains of the, even as it is, woefully insufficient aid operation.
Israel's months-long military campaign would not have been possible without American-made bombs and artillery shells, which have killed and maimed thousands of Palestinians. Yet for the first time, the U.S. acknowledged withholding a shipment of 3,500 high-impact bombs to Israel as a way to signal concern over what could come next and perhaps pressure Israel to change course.
Israel shouldn't launch a major attack into Rafah without accounting for and protecting the civilians that are in that battle space.
Yet Israel's defense minister warns their mission is not finished, hinting at a future operation along Israel's northern border with Lebanon. We have to prepare for continuing, he told his troops, warning of what he called a hot summer in the fight against Hezbollah, while the U.S. is preparing for the humanitarian crisis to continue in Gaza. In Cyprus, a ship was loaded with aid, destined to be the first cargo delivered to a newly completed floating pier off Gaza. Back in Rafah, there's fear this next desperate move may not be the last. We are going into the unknown, says this man, as he packed up his few belongings. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
In the U.S., police have cleared a pro-Palestinian encampment at George Washington University and arrested 33 people. Police moved in overnight when dozens of protesters marched to the home of the university president. The police chief said there were signs the protest was becoming more volatile and less stable. City officials were scheduled to testify on Capitol Hill today about why they had not cleared the encampments. That hearing has now been canceled. Global Affairs Canada has confirmed a Canadian has been killed in Egypt. It says it's providing consular assistance to the family, but didn't give any other information. The Israeli embassy in Ottawa confirms a man with both Israeli and Canadian citizenship was murdered in Egypt and that he owned a business in Egypt. The Egyptian government said on social media it's investigating after a Canadian businessman permanently residing in the country was exposed to a criminal shooting incident in Alexandria. Russia launched what Ukrainian authorities call a massive attack on the country's power grid overnight. Russian missiles and drones struck nearly a dozen energy facilities, causing major damage to at least 3 Soviet-era power plants. The attack led to blackouts in multiple regions. Ukraine's Air Force says it shot down 39 of 55 Russian missiles and all but 1 of the 21 drones. In Manitoba, the trial of the man accused of murdering 4 Indigenous women and disposing of their bodies heard his confession to police. Jeremy Skibicki admitted he killed the women, but his defense lawyers say he's not criminally responsible because of a mental disorder. A warning: details of the crimes are disturbing. The prosecution argues Skibicki devised a calculated scheme, preying on women at Winnipeg shelters, inviting them back to his home, killing them, and disposing of them as if they were garbage. Melissa Ridgen is following the trial. Melissa.
Donna, we heard for the first time Jeremy Skibicki, an interview that he had with homicide investigators. For 3 hours under police interrogation, he denied involvement in Rebecca Contois' death, only admitting that he knew her. And then a bombshell. I have a lot more information. I just want a priest to confess my sins. That's what he told investigators, and went on to say, I just wanted to see how far I could take things because the criminal justice system is a joke. And I killed 4 people, okay? It was at that moment police knew they had a serial killer on their hands. Skibicki told investigators he frequently used meth and looked for women victims at downtown shelters. In addition to Contois, Skibicki named them all: Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron, who at that point were missing. He named a 4th victim, but police found her alive. To this day, the identity of that 4th victim is unknown. Prosecutors say he lured the women to his apartment and had sex with them before choking them and disposing of their bodies in the garbage. Skibicki's legal team says he suffers from a mental disorder and had a meth addiction, arguing he should be found not criminally responsible. Police believe Harris and Myron and possibly a fourth victim, referred to as Buffalo Woman, are in a landfill north of Winnipeg. The federal and provincial governments have committed $40 million to start that search once the criminal matter wraps up here. It's scheduled for 6 weeks here. Donna.
All right, Melissa Ridgen in Winnipeg, thank you. Hundreds of charges have been laid after a sweeping investigation in Ontario into child sexual exploitation. Police say 64 people have been arrested.
With each passing year, the tools used by predators who wish to harm our children grow more sophisticated and harder to trace. From advanced encryption to the dark web, these factors add to the complexity of police investigations.
Police say the focus was on people who make, access, and distribute child sexual abuse material, and that 34 child victims have been identified. 30 of them have been safeguarded, meaning they were removed from a dangerous situation. The ages of those charged range from 16 to 89, and more than 600 digital devices were seized. Investigators say the rise of artificial intelligence is making it difficult to determine whether video and images appearing online are real. In Ontario, a funeral took place today for the 3-month-old boy killed in a crash last week during a high-speed police chase. Family and friends gathered to say goodbye to Aditya Vivan. His grandparents, who were visiting from India, were also killed. Police cruisers pursued a cargo van traveling in the wrong direction down the busy 401 highway. The chase ended in a multi-vehicle crash. The baby's parents were seriously injured, but they survived. And in a statement, they say they are mourning the loss of 3 of the most precious people in our lives. Ontario's police watchdog is reviewing what happened. Unions representing hundreds of thousands of federal public servants are not happy with new rules intended to get workers back into the office 3 days a week. The unions say they weren't consulted and employees don't want to give up working from home. The government says it isn't planning to back down, and as Abigail Beeman reports, public opinion may be on their side.
A dramatic picture painted by unions.
Bed bugs, bats, mice, cockroaches, mold, odors, poor air quality, missing or broken equipment, trash littering workstations.
About the apparent consequences of telling public servants to go back to the office 3 days a week, up from the current 2.
Forcing our members to wait in traffic, waste time setting up their workstation to sit in an unassigned desk, disconnected from their colleagues to take video calls all day is completely ridiculous.
Attempting to book a seat for the week is now like trying to get tickets to a Taylor Swift concert.
Unions concerned about not enough office space, especially with the government's plan to sell off more buildings. They say they weren't consulted. They're taking legal action, and they'll use every recourse they have, talking about coordinated actions on the streets and in the workplace, but they won't reveal tactics yet.
We're not just looking to go back to 2 days a week. We're here to say we're ready to fight to scrap the entire in-office policy of this government now.
The Trudeau Liberal government better prepare itself for a summer of discontent.
A hybrid work environment is not within the collective agreements.
Ottawa is not backing down, noting a 4-month transition period.
Most important thing is to continue to deliver services for Canadians and to protect taxpayer dollars.
Taxpayer dollars, and what about taxpayer opinions? Many outside the public service have long been back at the office full-time since COVID.
I think government employees should work in a government office. People that work at home, I don't believe, give you 8 hours a day work.
Working from home, it kind of, creates a part of laziness in some person's mind.
I find myself personally more productive working at the office.
As long as they're working, they do their job. I think doesn't matter at home or in the office.
I certainly do work from home.
Do you think it's more productive?
Absolutely. I'm on the clock right now. Picking up stuff for my job.
Abigail Beeman, Global News, Ottawa.
London Drugs is apologizing after it closed all of its 79 stores for more than a week because of a cyber attack. In a letter addressed to customers, the company's CEO called it one of the most challenging times in the retail chain's history. He says there is no evidence that the customer databases were compromised. London Drugs says it is still investigating. It's not clear who was behind the cyber attack. A frightening moment caught on camera. Coming up, why this Boeing plane landed without its front wheels. Severe storms ripped across the U.S. Midwest Tuesday evening, destroying homes and buildings. Tornadoes were reported in parts of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. One of them destroyed a FedEx facility where dozens of people were trapped inside. No one there was seriously hurt. Tonight, nearly 4 million Americans are under a severe thunderstorm warning. It has been an extremely active storm season in the U.S. There have been more than 300 tornadoes recorded since April. A FedEx cargo plane was forced to make a rough landing at Istanbul airport after its front landing gear failed to deploy. The Boeing 767 touched down after crew members informed air traffic control its front wheels weren't working. Sparks and smoke billowed as the nose scraped along the runway. Emergency crews were standing by. They quickly doused the aircraft with firefighting foam when it came to a stop, and no one was injured. Too much, too soon. Ahead, how Alberta's campaign to attract new residents could backfire. The third phase of an ad campaign called Alberta is Calling has rolled out in Ontario, Quebec, and BC. Alberta's government is trying to entice skilled trades workers to make the move to Wild Rose Country, and the sweetener is a $5,000 tax credit. But Alberta already has a flood of new residents, and there's growing concern the province is moving too fast. Heather Urix-West explains.
He may still work remotely for his employer in Ontario, but Anthony in Proskow has left his life in Ottawa behind.
I made the choice to pack up and come back to Calgary. This is where I was born.
Connections with family helped shape his decision more than a year ago, and in Proskow is not alone.
According to Statistics Canada, in 2022 and 2023, more than 87,000 people moved to Alberta from other parts of Canada, many coming from BC, Ontario, and Quebec, likely in search of a more affordable life.
Tell me about this unit. But with the influx of people, Alberta's affordability has started to wane.
It is very challenging because, most homes that you are coming across, condos, townhouses, houses, you're having to compete against many other buyers.
Realtor Brent Wilcox says his out-of-province clients are having a tough time. Soaring demand has driven up home prices at a time where there isn't a lot of housing to go around. It's why the province says they're putting out another recruitment call.
It's laser focused on attracting skilled trades that we need to build Alberta's houses, schools, hospitals, and job-creating infrastructure.
With an estimated 20,000 job vacancies in the skilled trades alone, the province has launched a new Move to Alberta campaign, offering a $5,000 tax credit to tradespeople who come to work and stay.
Obviously, talent is essential. It's the driving economic force of any community or any region. But you have to ensure that you balance supply and demand.
Difficult for a province prone to booms and busts. Alberta is clamoring for workers and residents today, but who knows for how long. Heather Urix-West, Global News, Calgary.
And then there were two. Next, the last Canadian teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs prepare to face off. It is a big night in hockey. The first ever playoffs in the Professional Women's Hockey League get underway. 4 teams are competing for this. The Walter Cup, which is made of sterling silver, weighs 35 pounds and stands just over 2 feet tall. Toronto, as the top seed, opens their semifinal best-of-5 series against Minnesota tonight. The winner will take on the winner of Montreal versus Boston, which starts tomorrow. As for the NHL, if you're a Leafs fan or a Jets fan, you have to get over your sadness. And if you care about a Canadian team advancing, you can cheer for either the Edmonton Oilers or the Vancouver Canucks. That series starts tonight in Vancouver. As Neetu Garcha reports, the excitement in both cities is through the roof.
Preparations are in full swing outside Rogers Arena in Vancouver, with anticipation reaching a fever pitch ahead of an all-Canadian Western Conference semi-final.
Go Canucks!
They're fast and they're furious, and I'm so excited.
I wish them luck, but I don't think they're going to have it.
As the excitement builds, so does the rivalry, spilling over into unexpected places like this Boston Pizza restaurant in Penticton, BC, which found itself in the crossfire for displaying a "Let's Go Oilers" sign despite being in Canucks territory. It's since been changed to a more neutral message.
There's nothing like playoff matchups to build big geographical rivalries.
As fans spar on social media, the Alberta and BC premiers making a bet on the series outcome as the mayors of Edmonton and Vancouver make a wager of their own.
We'd like for you to fly the flag of our beloved Canucks.
So get ready to wear that jersey on the day Canucks lose.
Ahead of the Canucks and Oilers' first playoff game against each other since 1992, memories of Vancouver's 2011 riot are front of mind for some.
The emotional pleas from both sides. It looks like it's getting a bit ugly early. Vancouver has a little bit of a history of going overboard if they get beat.
Police in Vancouver are preparing as the city gets set to open public viewing spaces over the weekend.
We will continue to deploy as many officers as needed to maintain public safety.
And local businesses are gearing up for a surge in customers.
It really is an unparalleled kind of vibe and feeling in this city.
And remembering the legacy of Canucks coach Roger Nielsen and his infamous white towel protest, fans will have their white towels out tonight, a symbol of the passion and history that defines this age-old rivalry. Neetu Garcha, Global News, Vancouver.
A good series. That is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is Wascana Lake in Regina. We'd love to see your Canada. Please email it to viewers@globalnational.com. And thanks for watching. Farah Nasser will be here at the anchor desk tomorrow. For now, bye-bye.